Just two people on the radio, Dennis.
Nasty.
Tawny.
Vicious.
And Good Morning Westchester. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9. Right here on 1460 WVOX.
1460 WVOX.
Stay tuned now for the Homeschooling Attorney Show, where we'll talk about homeschooling and empower parents who wish to homeschool their kids. It's the Homeschooling Attorney Show on 1460 WVOX.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Homeschooling Attorney Show, where our goal is to demystify the homeschooling process and empower parents who truly wish to homeschool their own kids. We are airing live at 1460 WVOX Radio. My name is Nkechi Nwachukwu. I am a New York licensed attorney who homeschools my 3 children. That is why I am the homeschooling attorney. Joining me this evening are my 3 fabulous children. We have my youngest, which is my daughter, Oluchi. She's an 8-year-old 3rd grader. Would you say good evening to our listeners?
Good evening.
And next we have my son, Chidi, who's an 11-year-old 6th grader. Would you greet our listeners?
Good evening.
And we have our eldest. I call him firstborn, my son, Uchenna.
Good evening.
Good evening. He's a 13-year-old 8th grader. And thank you, children, for being here and making this show possible. We'll chat a little later in the program, okay? The Homeschooling Attorney Show is sponsored by the Law Office of u.nkechitv, Nwachukwu, yours truly. So feel free to consider this show as attorney advertising, where our goal is to share general information for educational purposes only. This show is not to be taken as legal advice. There is no guarantee that what works for my family will work for the next family, will work for your family. Each child is unique. Each family is unique. So the purpose of this program is to share general information so that you will know that you do have options on how you choose to educate your child. If you do have specific questions, feel free to drop a comment on my website, nkechitlaw.com. That's N as in Nancy, K-E, C as in cat, HILAW.com. And I'll be sure to connect with you personally. So let's dive right in. What exactly is homeschooling? In New York State, homeschooling is when parents exercise their right to provide their child or children with a quality education at home. Section 3205 of the New York State Education Law states, in each school district of the state, each minor from 6 to 16 years of age shall attend upon full-time instruction. Section 3204 of the Education Law regarding the place of instruction says, a minor required to attend upon instruction by the provisions of Part 1 of this article may, not shall, may attend at a public school or elsewhere. And that's the key. Elsewhere could be a parochial school where religion is included as part of the curriculum. It could be an independent school. It could be a secular non-public school. And it could be a homeschool. Now that we've laid the legal foundation for homeschooling, let me share 5 practical tips about homeschooling. Tip number 1, homeschooling is possible. We just laid the legal foundation. Homeschooling is a viable, legally recognized way to give your child a high quality education. Homeschooling is a thing, and you can do it. Tip number 2, homeschooling is flexible. The curriculum can be tailored to your child's needs and preferences. For example, in our homeschool curriculum, we've included financial literacy. This is my 3rd year as a full-time entrepreneur, and I'm relatively new to this, but I've told people from preschool to law school, nobody ever told me the things that I am learning now as an entrepreneur, especially when it comes to money matters, business ownership, things along those lines. And that's why I decided to include financial literacy as part of our homeschooling curriculum. So my kids are learning how to do their own banking transactions, fill out their deposit slips, their withdrawal slips, budget their money, purchase their own personal care items and other items. So homeschooling curriculum is flexible. Another beauty of homeschooling and the flexibility is that you can accelerate or decelerate as the need presents itself. If your child is doing fantastic in math, they can accelerate up through the grades. If that same child needs a little more work on the foundations in, say, English or phonics, then you can take your time and make sure that a solid foundation is laid so you can build it around preferences. Tip number 3, homeschooling does not have to happen at home. It can happen right here at WVOX Studio. Okay, spoiler alert. One of the reasons I wanted to bring the children down to the studio is because of my middle child, Chidi. He surprised me. He was in 2nd grade, around age 6, 7, and we went for a Christmas program at the school that he was enrolled in the past. The entire program went on maybe about an hour and a half. And while other kids were ripping and running, at the end of the program, the smoke machine was to go off at a particular time. And the effect was wonderful. And then I found out that it was Chidi who was working the smoke machine. And I was so impressed because he could have been ripping and running and doing everything, and yet he kept his post behind the scenes, just waiting for that precise moment. And that's when I first took note. Afterwards, he expressed an interest in working the sound studio or sound system at our church. And he was working the mics and the computers and other things like that. So I said, okay, he has an interest in technical theater, like the behind the scenes production. So that is part of the reason they are here. This will count as a homeschool field trip. They'll get credit for English language arts because they'll work on communicating verbally. They'll get credit for music. We're going to have a little music later on. It can count towards career development and occupational studies. So homeschooling does not have to happen at home. It can happen anywhere. It can happen taking a walk. It could happen at the zoo. Tip number 4. Homeschooling does not have to happen at a set time. It can be tailored to fit your family's schedule. The New York State Education website has a question and answer section regarding home instruction. And one of their questions, question number 8, asks, must home instruction take place on days and during the times of day when school is in session? The answer: instruction at home is usually given within the general time frame of the normal school day, but greater flexibility in scheduling is possible. For example, parents may, and this is still New York State Education's words, parents may choose to provide instruction on weekends or in the evening. The total amount of instructional time per week should be generally comparable to that of public school. So again, it can fit your schedule, especially in these pandemic times and children are at home with you. If, for example, you need to take them for a doctor's appointment or some other activity, you can do that on your time and you can make up the work at a time that fits your family's schedule. And tip number 5, homeschooling is doable. You do not need special credentials to homeschool your child. And you can enlist help if needed. There were 2 more questions on the New York State website regarding this matter, and it said, question number 9 asks, may a district require parents or tutors to produce credentials for home instruction? The answer, no. State law does not require any specific credentials for the person providing home instruction. Question number 5 asked, may parents engage a tutor to provide home instruction? The answer, yes. Parents may engage the services of a tutor to provide instruction for all or a portion of the home instruction program. And note, a tutor does not need to be a professional tutor. It could be big brother or big sister helping out a younger sibling. It could be an auntie, an uncle, a neighbor, a child care provider. So you don't have to do it alone. My wish is that you would see the possibilities, be creative in how you educate your children. It is possible. If you have any questions, I would love to connect with you and perhaps create a plan or a schedule so you can test it out, perhaps over the summertime, and see how it fits for your family. Children, now that we've gotten some technicalities out of the way, I'd like to turn to you all, and I'm sure everyone would like to hear from you as well. I will start with our youngest, my daughter Oluchi, the 8-year-old third grader. Just yesterday, we were out in the community garden. Spring is here, and it's time to plant seeds and have new beginnings. And I was able to spend some quality time with you out in the garden. Would you like to talk a bit about what you did yesterday?
Okay, so I got to plant seeds yesterday, pull out some weeds, and be able to see some worms. We get to have rain, so it can water our plants for us, even though we had some in a yellow bucket that we've been trying to fill up. After we finished doing that, we found a little bit of entertainment. To me, because our mom didn't want it to happen, she wanted to see what a bird would do. So a bird came when we were done, and she wanted to see what it would do. And then it started digging up some seeds, and she said she was starting to scream and telling it to get out, and she was about to shoot away. And I was like, so just shoot away. And she said, I want to see what it does. And then when it kept on digging, she started screaming even more, and I was vlogging.
I sure enough was screaming because I had heard someone mention that the birds will sit and watch you while you plant seeds, and when you leave, they'll go and dig them up. And this was my first time witnessing that. By that time, you would be screaming too. We had pulled the weeds. We had to spade and shovel. We had added fertilizer, did all kind of work. And we were finally done. So to have some bird, and it was a robin, come and start picking up the seeds, no. I was absolutely going to verbally protest. But I did hang back to see what would happen. You mentioned the buckets that collected rainwater. Do you remember how and when we got those?
Yeah. So when the buckets of the rainwater, we were just going to, I think we were like taking a walk or going to where we planted the seeds. So we were just walking and we found some buckets on the side that nobody was using, and it was next to some trash. So it was two of them. So we picked both of them up, and then we found the guy who was washing his car, and we asked him if he can wash off the buckets for us, and he said yes. He let us use some soap and use his hose, and we washed it. We brought it to where we were planting, and
that was last season, and it's still collecting rainwater today.
Yeah, so, we put it down so it could just collect rainwater. And this time we only found one bucket. I don't know where the other one went.
And that's how we were exercising conservation. We reclaimed some plastic, collecting rainwater, and we're able to water our plants.
And we also saw a lot of worms. I think we killed all of them when we were digging because they were like under the soil.
Okay, we didn't kill all of them. I'm sorry, I couldn't see where the worms were when we spaded, but and worms are wonderful for soil. That means we had good soil, by the way. So I'm just hoping that there are still some worms there. But thank you for your observations. And Chidi, I call Chidi my mystery wrapped up in an enigma, because sometimes I'm really trying to figure this one out. But last week we went to the zoo and he asked if he could use the iPad to vlog, and he got quite a bit of good footage. Chidi, can you tell us about some of the animals that you saw at the zoo?
So the animals that we saw at the zoo were my favorite animal that we saw. First of all, was the rhinoceros, because it was the biggest one of them all. There was an exhibit called Madagascar, and there was all the animals in Madagascar. There were monkeys, birds, and snakes, and there were cockroaches. There was honestly nothing covering the cockroaches from crawling out. So I got a little bit creeped out there. So then we went to the mouse house. There was all types of rodents. You would actually have to look for them because they're camouflaging in with the brown grass. And once you find them, there's actually a lot more than you think. We saw lions. We saw 3 grizzly bears. One of them are sleeping and 2 of them are play fighting. I caught that on video. And the birds we saw were a bald eagle, vultures, condors, and all those bigger birds. Their wingspan I was surprised.
What about the flamingos? What did we learn about flamingos?
What we learned about flamingos is that with flamingos, they get their color from what they eat, and that's what makes them have their pinkish orangish color.
Very interesting. You did capture some great footage, and we had sea lions and seals and things like that.
And we saw a few ducks.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that experience. All of the above. And snakes. Firstborn, Uchenna, the teenager. I have to say, this is about the 3rd time during the pandemic that you have rearranged your room. And I think you just finished rearranging it today. It was what, a 1-2-day project? Tell us a little bit about your vision. Why were you rearranging your room this time?
So I was rearranging the room so we could kind of transform it into a mini studio for music producing. I want to get into that, and I want people to be able to come and tell me they have a song in their mind and I can create that song.
And if you equip your studio with everything that you want in it, what would be there?
Keyboards, speakers, MIDI controllers, which control the sound which is coming out of your speakers, and a workstation.
Okay. I just found out about this workstation. I found out a lot of this yesterday when we decided to Google some of this equipment that he had in mind. And it's actually an endeavor that I could probably support. There are a lot of things they'd like to purchase, and I'm like, but this, I must say, before the pandemic hit, he was a student at a performing arts magnet school, and he does play keyboard. In fact, the intro music that you heard is original music that I came up with the melody about 2 years ago, recorded it on the voice memo feature of my phone, and I guess I had been humming it around the house for quite a few days. Lo and behold, my surprise when I actually heard Uchenna playing my song on the keyboard. Fast forward 2 years when we decide we're going to do this homeschooling attorney show, and my kids who watch YouTube are saying, you need an intro and outro. You need intro and outro music. And we're like, what is it going to be? And Uchenna started playing my old song, and that's what it is today. So I did promise in our promo that we would do some actual homeschooling in the process. So we're going to do our worldwide live debut. This is a work in progress. It's not finished. Parents, I encourage you, go for your dreams, empower yourself, because when you empower yourself, you automatically empower your children. So we're not doing a finished product here, but I challenged him to try to put music to the lyrics. The song is called Where Eagles Soar. And it was a verse. All I have is the melody, still working on the lyrics. A verse, a chorus, a bridge. And in our last few minutes, why don't you let us hear what you've come up with so far? here first on WVOX Radio. Okay, here are the asks. If you are a music producer and can help us do something with this song, if you wish to homeschool your child over the summer, if you want to hear more of this Homeschooling Attorney Show on WVOX Live, drop me a comment at nkechitv@nkechitv.com. And there's an African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. So for all of you listeners, thank you for being part of this village that's helping to raise these children. Look forward to connecting with you soon. And have a great evening, everybody.